So I've run across this particular concept two different times where somebody will take a picture that very clearly is not what the actual topic of the discussion is about, and then try to use that to say that violent rioters are attacking police officers and committing egregious acts of arson. Should ICE be allowed to do something about it? Well, there's a few things wrong with this thought process. First of all, if you use a picture in your post, most people understand that the picture is supposed to have something to do with the topic that the post is about. Neither of them were. The second one that I found recently was closer because it actually showed a car supposedly being on fire. And I don't mean that I didn't put this around the word supposedly, that's fire. A car is supposedly on fire. First problem with both of them, but specifically with the second one. It's still very clearly AI generated. Because, conveniently, guess what was missing from the police car? Lights. I know, some modern police cars have their flashing light thing, whatever you call that gadget that makes the blue and red flashing lights, whatever you call that thing. I'm just going to keep calling it the thing. Some modern police cars have that thing hidden along the bottom edge of the rear window. Okay, great. Regardless of whether or not the car in the picture was actually a police car, there's a few things wrong with the picture. And I'm focusing on the picture right now. I'll move on from there in just a second. But the picture specifically had a few things wrong with it. First is, okay, at least they were smarter this time and showed an actual car that had supposedly been engulfed in flames. So the paint was burned away. The glass in one spot was cracked. Realistically speaking, if a car goes up in flames, the glass would shatter, so the glass shouldn't have been there. But that's beside the point. But the thing that kind of got me a little bit was the back passenger side chassis. The frame, the spot just about where the tail light would normally be. The tail light, it might have been supposedly the tail light, but if the tail light was there whenever the car caught on fire, the tail light would have melted. But you can very clearly see that there's this dent in the back. Okay. We're supposed to assume that any damage on that car was caused by the fire. Fire doesn't dent metal. You have to do that beforehand. So are you trying to say that the car had a dent in it before it caught flame? Or am I just not supposed to look that far into it? Obviously, it's the second one. You're not supposed to look that very far into the picture. It's supposed to be this automatic, make you more angry than you already are at anyway. So, second problem with the picture that I saw. The entire car supposedly already was engulfed in flames and the flames went out. Except for the very obvious fact that there's a humongous fireball leaping up from a spot on the car. At first, I thought it was genuinely just, for some odd reason, that only one spot right conveniently located above the tire, but right about 1/3 of the way going forward from the very back end of the car was still very visibly on fire and had smoke billowing off the fire above it, which is typical if something's burning really hard. Which, at the beginning, I thought was not scientifically accurate because a vehicle, when the flames are dying down, one of two options occurs. Well, one of three options occurs. Either the flame will go all the way to the top and it'll die off at the top. it'll go die off and completely go down and then die at the bottom, or you'll have a bunch of scattered mini flames at different random spots across the object being burned. The last one's a lot less likely to happen. But none of those were happening. And it would never keep such a roaring flame in one spot. Then it became obvious. The AI goofed up and was trying to show that the tire was still on fire. Except for one very distinct fact. If one tire was still in flames, what do you think would have happened to the other three? The other three would also be in flames, but only one tire was on fire. And conveniently wasn't in the process of melting. So it was a very badly done AI picture. But then, moving on from the fact that the picture did not help the narrative, but it was supposed to help make you mad at the thought process. So let's move on to what the thought process was. Violent rioters are attacking federal officers and burning down our cities. Okay. Remember how I said this is the second one I've come across? The first one, I had this lengthy argument, which I ended up stopping because the person was an idiot. Let's just be frank. The person that I was arguing with was a flat-out idiot who thought that the picture does not have to have anything to do with what you're talking about. Okay, maybe it doesn't need to have anything to do with it, but like I said, if you have a picture attached to a post, you would think that the picture that you're attaching to the post somehow supports the post that you're attaching the picture to. Anyway, but the first one that I ran across was a overhead, I believe would you refer to it as. It looked like somebody had took a picture of a protest from on top of a roof and was looking down. You could see this ring in the middle of the road where there's protesters all around, and there's a bare spot in the middle where there happened to be a fire raging. Same exact concept as before. They were trying to make you think that the fire was a police car. And exactly like before, you have absolutely no way to confirm whether or not it is a police car. So the second one, it's a car at least, but you can't confirm if it's a police car because, of course, all the markings and anything that would denote it as being a police car very openly are not there. The first one was a flat thing, which hopefully you understand that a fire isn't capable of flattening a metal chassis that's designed to withstand getting hit by another car going at high speeds. So a fire wouldn't be able to make it go pum. So my assumption is that the thing in the first one was a bunch of wood that could collapse once it got going hard enough, which would also explain why the flames were so billowy in the first one. Okay, so I can tell you with pretty distinct assurity or confidence, whatever you want to call it, that the first one was wood. The second one was almost assuredly not a police car, even though it was a car this time. And once I figured out that the second one was AI, guess what? They're the exact same concept. What's the likelihood that the first one is an AI? Sorry, that face was completely unnecessary. But here's the issue. Both of them use the exact same premise. Violent rioters are attacking federal officers or attacking police officers and committing acts of violence. One of them is a demonstration. And by the way, a protest is usually people walking down the street or standing in one spot with signs, shouting their opinions. Okay. They're still blocking a thoroughfare in some way, shape, or form. In one version, you walk down the street. In one version, you walk down the sidewalk. In one version, you stand in the street. In one version, you stand in the sidewalk. In both versions, you're blocking people from moving in some way, shape, or form. The first one, you're blocking the road so cars can't go by. In the second one, you're blocking the sidewalk so the people can't go by. Both versions, you block traffic in some way, shape, or form. One of them is just foot traffic. Somebody in Facebook started complaining at me that if you block the road, that's a felony. No, it isn't. Blocking a road is not a felony. Now, a single person standing in a road is, again, not a felony. It's kind of stupid because most people are not going to stop for a single person. That's the difference. A lot of people blocking a roadway is not a felony. It's considered a protest, which is legally protected, by the way. But most people understand at that point that what you're doing is protected, so they'll start to pull in, realize, oh, the road's blocked, and they'll just move along. The only people that seem to think that this is a bad thing are the people who want to manipulate reality and say that just because I don't like something, it automatically makes it illegal. Okay. That's the first point I want to make. Second point. Attacking federal agents or attacking police officers. Now, this is the reason why I harp on the pictures so hard. Why is the picture so important? Because the picture used is supposed to support the attacking federal officers portion. When you read that and look at the picture, you're supposed to, in one case, the one that showed a car, very obviously a car, your brain is supposed to assume that that was a police car, right? Yeah. So if the wording on the post, not the picture, if the wording on the post says violent rioters are attacking federal officers, what's your brain gonna go to? There was a police officer in that car. The picture matters. Trying to say that the picture does not matter, when you word it like that with a supporting image, it matters. Was there a police officer in that car? No, it was AI. But you intentionally attached a picture of a car on fire to a post that said attacking federal officers, knowing full well that people are going to assume that the two of them go hand in hand and think this is an officer that was inside the car when it was burned. You don't think that kind of manipulation is wrong? But people pointing out to you in the comments of the post itself that the entire thing's a lie, that's a problem? Me using science to explain why the picture is wrong, and then pointing out that constitutionally speaking, the concept that you're harping against is not illegal, that's wrong? Me being able to show you reality is wrong, but you intentionally manipulating people and trying to rage bait them into agreeing with you about something that is not true, that's not wrong? Do you see why I have a problem with these sorts of people? They blindly accept what these federal officers, dude, and the second one, the one where the picture very clearly showed a car, the Post very, very ignobly tried to do a from point A to point B, from point B to point C move. It started with the violent rioters are attacking federal officers. Then it jumped to burning down American cities. And then it jumped from there to point C, which is, should ICE be allowed to use water grenades? Wait. So you're going to manipulate people into thinking that violent rioters, quote unquote, are attacking federal officers when it's very obvious that that's not the case. You're going to purport that entire cities are being burned down, which a quick Google search told me that's a blatant and just horrible lie. The only cities that have been burned are Minneapolis, St. Paul, and one other that I completely forgot. I'll put it on the screen here. That was back in 2020, in May of 2020. So you are trying to use something that happened back before this current presidential term to rage bait people into believing something that's a flat out lie, or you're believing rumors that are going around on the internet. One of the two. Both of them equally possible. But here's the problem with all this. Every single one of them so far, I've been able to prove every one of them. The picture's fake. The terminology is fake. The alleged crime is fake. So far, every single thing is fake. So if that's the case, guess what? Point C, fake. Point C, not legal. So the entire thing is just stupid from the get-go. But apparently I'm the wrong one for being able to break it down and prove that it is wrong. Oh, I am so sorry. Not!